do for the DOT test. You're going to start with the parking brake test. Before you perform any of the tests, you will have chalked the wheels, and you'll make sure that your fast idle is off. When we test the parking brake, we're testing to be sure that when the parking brake is engaged and the bus is in drive, that the bus isn't going to move. So we have the parking brake engaged. I'm going to apply my service brake. You have to apply your service brake in order to shift. So I've got my service brake on. I shift into drive. I heard and felt the bus shift. I'll gently apply the accelerator and then shift back into neutral. As you're doing each of those steps, so making sure that your parking brake is engaged, shifting into drive, and then gently pressing the accelerator, you're going to explain all of that as you do it. You'll say, to test my parking brake, I make sure my parking brake is engaged, I shift into drive, gently press the accelerator, the bus doesn't move, therefore my parking brake is working properly. You can shift back into neutral. You won't actually perform the service brake check either at the Iowa City or Cedar Rapids testing sites because there isn't enough room. So you'll just say, in order to test my service brake, I would shift the bus into drive, accelerate to 5 miles an hour, and then apply my service brake. The bus doesn't pull left or right, so my service brake is working properly. The next part of the brakes test is the hardest. It has the most things to remember, and it's very easy to forget something. So make sure that you study it in detail and that you're following each step. To test the brake system, we are looking for leaks. So we're going to be keeping track of our air pressure. Before you do anything else, you're going to look at your air pressure gauge, and you're going to say the air pressure is in proper operating range from 110 to 125 psi. At this point, you're going to turn the bus completely off. You'll turn the ignition switch back 2 clicks to the right, but you're not going to start the engine. At this point, you're going to disengage the parking brake, and that's why we chalk the wheels, so the bus isn't going to roll. You have to disengage the parking brake. At a later part in the test, the parking brake is going to re-engage, so if you never turn it off, it can't re-engage. That's where a lot of people get tripped up and fail the brakes portion. So I've disengaged my parking brake. I have my foot off the service brake. I'm going to watch my air pressure gauge and time for a minute, or the tester will likely time for a minute. You'll say, with my foot off the brake, I check my air gauge and I lose no more than 2 psi in the first minute. The tester says a minute has passed, and then I'll apply my service brake completely. And you'll say, I apply the brake completely, I check my air gauge, and I lose no more than 3 psi in the second minute. The tester says a minute has passed, and then I'll start pumping the service brake to fan the air pressure off. I'll be looking up at my indicator panel, and it'll say, as I fan off the air pressure, the low air warning light activates when the air pressure drops below 65 psi. I'm going to keep fanning. Once the air pressure reaches 50 psi, the parking brake will automatically engage. Some of them are pretty quiet. If you miss it, you can also check your indicator panel. The parking brake light will pop on right next to the low air light. At this point, you can turn the bus completely off.